But with mass gatherings happening due to protests, suddenly a huge amount of people, regardless of the best intentions, are potentially exposing themselves to infection, putting their own at risk. So you'd be going out to a protest, fighting for the good fight, but then you come home potentially infected, and then you might be infecting, like your loved ones. So we can't have that. So because if you get it, the people around you could get it easily. So today we'll be speaking with my sister, a registered nurse, Tracy Lazaro, founder of PPE Now LA. So can you tell us a bit about your work with PPE Now LA? Like, what does PPE Now LA do, and how does it relate to the pandemic at hand?
Yeah, definitely. So if you haven't heard already, there is a shortage of this personal protective equipment. There's been an increase in demand and not a change in supply. So our supply has been about here, whereas our increase in demand is about here. So that is why we're seeing shortages, and that's what my organization is really trying to help out. I've been working with partners trying to make PPE, like face shields and ear extenders, and we're also trying to find people that are sewing masks, and we're handing that out to nursing home residents and healthcare workers in need. And I'm just trying to find stuff on the internet, basically, and just buying it all up and trying to get it and then handing it out to whoever is in need.
So people, if you want to help our Los Angeles healthcare workers, be sure to visit PPE Now LA and donate, because those donations go towards supplying healthcare workers in LA with the much needed protective personal equipment, because there's a big shortage in a lot of the big hospitals right now, and that's who PPE Now LA is servicing. So real quick, how exactly does COVID spread?
How is COVID spread? So COVID is a virus. Viruses are spread through what's called a droplet transmission. So every time you talk, every time you breathe, every time you cough, sneezing, singing, chanting, all of that pushes out virus in an infected person. And that's how people are getting it. They're inhaling those viruses, and those viruses also are being transmitted through the eyes. So that's why it's really important for us to be staying that 6 foot apart distance. However, I will mention later on and explain how that 6 foot distance actually needs to be increased when you're in a crowded space.
Oh, wow.
With a lot of people.
What are the basics of moving around safer during the pandemic?
Well, obviously, as much as possible, people need to be covering their face, whether it be a mask, a handkerchief, a t-shirt, a scarf. Any type of covering will help prevent the spread of COVID. Also, trying to stay away from people that are not wearing masks. And I would actually add another, in this environment of where we're all gathering together outside, where there's a breeze, that breeze is spreading COVID 20 feet or more farther out than what we were taught. And hand sanitizing is also very important, trying not to touch your face, and eye protection of any sort, whether it be sunglasses, goggles, snowboarding goggles, all of that will help protect your eyes. So at the beginning, people were forgetting their masks left and right. I think I handed out 150 masks that first day alone. Another issue now is that more people are going to these protests, so more people are gathering, and they're not aware of their social distance. Everyone is crowding together because you can't hear what people are saying because we don't have enough microphones and megaphones. Another issue is that people who are speaking into crowds are taking off their masks. They're taking off their masks to speak because they feel like they can't be projecting enough and they can't speak well enough for people to hear you. But I've actually been to 1 or 2 protests where the people were able to speak well and we could understand them without having them taking off their masks. Remember, if you're in a crowd and you're in the center and you take your mask off, you have a 30-foot radius of people that you could potentially be infecting if you were positive and not knowing it because you don't have any symptoms. So it's very dangerous to be speaking without a mask. Another thing that people are doing is that they're putting their mask down into their chin. So if it's on their chin, it's not covering your face, and therefore it's no longer protecting anybody. And the last thing that I want to mention is also people who are not speaking and just observing. Because you're there for hours, you get tired. And so they're taking off their masks and getting water and eating and drinking and talking with their friends, but they're not social distancing from the people in the crowd. So they're exposing the people around them just by having that break of not having the mask so they can eat.
Like, can you speak to eye protection, or do we have to wear long sleeves? Can we wear shorts because it's hella hot? Like, what is everything that people should be wearing during a protest?
So if you can, as much as possible, eye protection is key. So whether it be like a pair of goggles like these are motorcycle goggles that are anti-fog. You can also wear snowboarding goggles, eyeglasses. When I'm in the hospital, I'm not taking care of COVID, that's what I wear. I wear eyeglasses, blue lens glasses that you wear for the computer, sunglasses, even some sort of eye protection, even a face shield if you have it, if it's available. Definitely wear some sort of visor, something to protect your eyes from COVID. The other thing is, if the people around you are not able to wear masks, you need to leave the area and vacate and be 30 feet, as much as possible, 30 feet away. Masks save lives.
Masks save lives.
Masks save lives.
Does it matter if it's K90? Was it
N95s? They're very hard to find. The problem with the N95s that are out in the public is that these have a valve on the mask. So that valve on the mask is actually leaking their exhales. So even though you're covered and you're protected, you're not protecting the people that are with you. So you're exposing people to yourself, even though you think you're protected. So the best way to remedy that is to cover your valve with a piece of tape or wear a mask on top of that.
Oh, wow. Didn't even realize. So
yeah, that's also a danger.
A cloth mask, that works, right? Like a scarf, that works, yeah?
The person infected will not transmit to the people that are not infected.
Let's go through the things that you mentioned, right? So during protests, try to, of course, wear masks, wear eye protection, be it if you have goggles, that's ideal. If you don't, then even sunglasses and glasses, that'll work. Contacts don't work because it'll interact with your eye fluid, so that's a no-no. So masks save lives. What else? If you're
towel.
Yeah, even cloth works because it's more to protect others than protecting yourself. So it's to
absolutely
right.
Protect others.
Stay away from police officers because apparently police officers aren't wearing masks.
I've tried many times; they won't do it. So just stay away from them as much as possible.
So have you approached the police officers during the protest?
Many times I've offered them masks.
Ooh, girl, be careful.
And they decline. They say they have one, but they won't wear them. So be careful out there, guys. Stay safe.
As much as possible, try to distance, but you can only distance so much. So the mask really is your first and last line of defense. And on top of that, if you're gonna take a break and go eat, or you're just observing the protest, remove yourself from the main protest area. You said 30 feet away because you said COVID can travel up to 20 feet with wind. Is that right?
With a 5-mile-an-hour wind, COVID will travel 20 feet. If there is higher than 5-mile-an-hour wind, it can go farther. So you really, really want to stay as far away from the protest as you can for that time period that you want to eat and drink.
Got it. All right, we got a question from Marissa. Hi, shout out Marissa. She asks, I noticed people are handing out waters and snacks at these protests. All right, should people sanitize these before drinking or eating them?
It's very low likelihood of transmission from contact of those particular items, especially if the people that are handing them to you are wearing masks. So your hands are very dirty. So that's the only reason why you should really be sanitizing your hands, is because you've been touching all the dirty objects. But the objects of food and water, those are safe to eat and drink. Remember, COVID is a respiratory virus.
Got it.
It's really not transmitted much from food, from contact with food, especially because the snacks that are given out are snacks that are not shared. You're not sharing stuff. It's all prepackaged. Prepackaged snacks are safe to eat. One thing I do want to mention is if you get arrested, treat yourself like you have COVID and monitor yourself at home. Stay safe, stay at home, self-quarantine as much as you can from your family, because in an arrest situation, people are thrown in a jail altogether. And I'm not really sure, but I don't think they let you have your masks anymore, or like what they let you do. So you're at a high risk of being exposed to a lot of people without any facial coverings. So definitely stay quarantined. And after all the protests are done, but in LA County, pretty much anyone can get a test if they're symptomatic or not. You just have to go on the website.
For free too. I already got tested. Going to test next week probably. You know what it is.